Industry, where there's good data available from, they say that a well-run farm from 1.2 kilos of food will produce 1 kilo of fish body weight. Not so efficient, 2 kilos of fish food will produce 1 kilo of fish weight. Now that is very, very efficient if you're feeding a fish on something like a manufactured food like pellets. So it's very low cost. And for example, here in Australia at the moment, if you were to buy a fingerling for $1, allowing for some fingerlings that die, and the cost of fish food and electricity to get that to maturity, to plate size, that 1 kilo fish will cost you about $6. Now that is really, really very cheap food. Much cheaper than the $32 that I saw fish for sale in one of the big supermarkets just the other day. $32 a kilo. So $6 for clean, homegrown fish is a real bargain. I'm here at my friend Gary Donaldson's place. Actually, Gary's written the Urban Aquaponics Manual, which is a really excellent manual on the whole aquaponics business, and I highly recommend it. We've come here today to look at black soldier fly larvae and to also look at duckweed production, both really good food sources for our fish. Here we're looking at the black soldier fly larvae being produced for our fish food. And we're looking in front of us here at a biopod, which is a commercially made product that we can breed our black soldier fly larvae in. And we'll just come and have a close-up shot, and I'll lift the lid. And we can see what's happening in here. The black soldier larvae are busily consuming all the household scraps we've put in there. And you can see the larvae close up there. And we can also see some of the mature larvae here that's now walking up this gangplank, and they will very conveniently drop down in the chute there for us, so they're self-harvesting. They do that because they're ready to go to the next stage of their development, which is to go and find their way into the ground somewhere and turn into a mature fly. And at that stage they would then fly up into the trees somewhere and they would mate. The average life cycle of the fly itself is only about 5 to 8 days, so they're not a problem around the home. You shouldn't get the idea that these flies will become a problem around the home, because they're just not interested in going into your house and being a nuisance. All they're interested in is consuming vast amounts of vegetable matter. They're really good at converting vegetable matter into protein for your fish. Take a look now at the harvesting chute. We can see that there's this tube attached, and the larvae have crawled up the inside of this ramp and they drop down in here. And let's just take this out. You see Madam is hanging around here thinking she's going to get some food. And we'll take a look inside here. These larvae are all fresh and clean, believe it or not, and ready to be thrown to our fish. That's if the chooks leave any behind. Okay, we've got here some frozen black soldier fly larvae that we're about to feed to the fish, and you can see they're quite hard. They're actually frozen. They don't look much different to what they did before we froze them. You can see I'll break one here, and you can see they're quite hard because they're frozen solid, so they're really good to feed the fish. Interestingly, this black soldier fly larvae is about 42% protein and about 30% fat, so they're a really excellent fish food. And remember how we got them? We used our we used our kitchen scraps, our veggie scraps, and recycled them via our compost bin, and all that wonderful protein and goodness and vitamins and minerals that would have been lost perhaps is now recycled and now going to our fish. Here's another food source for our fish. This one's known as duckweed. It's a freshwater, very, very small, minute plant that grows in fresh water with nutrient passing through it. And we can see here it just looks like a mat of material over the top of the water, but this stuff is 35 to 42% protein, so it's a really good source of food for fish. Now, not all fish will eat this, of course, but jade perch, silver perch, and those fish that are herbivorous will eat this wonderfully. They just love it. We gather it up in the summertime when it grows really well, and we freeze it into frozen blocks, and we keep them for wintertime feeding of our fish. We've got some quite good blocks of it here, and we just break bits of this off and throw it into our fish tank. We would feed about that much to, say, a tank that had 20 fish in it, for example, and that would be their morning's meal. Fish don't really eat all that much food, believe it or not. A common error people make when they start in aquaponics is they overfeed their fish. So what you would do is you'd feed the fish this, and you just watch and see how much of it they take up. When they've left it alone, you know they've had enough. The bathtub system is really easy to put together. First of all, you need to find a couple of old bathtubs for yourself. Now these can be found anywhere almost these days. So many people are doing renovations to homes that it's quite easy to pick up old bathtubs. Now I've filled the top container with gravel up to about 2/3 full and inserted into it the system, the auto siphon device, and the one below, and I've just sat them really on the ground. The tank that will become the fish tank is just simply sitting on the ground with some gravel around it to make it level and to just support it. It's that simple. It would take you no more than 5 minutes to do that. The grow bed itself is suspended on 6 Besser blocks or concrete blocks, 200mm by 400mm blocks, or in imperial 4-inch concrete blocks, and we just stack them up. Most bathtubs have a flat bottom on them, so it will just sit nicely on there. You may have to pack one end a little bit because it's not level. You know, the bathtub is made so it has a little bit of fall in it, so you'd want to level the bathtub, and you might need to pack one end with some plywood, something solid like that, or some fibro cement sheet, something that's solid to bring it up to level. And then you would insert the auto siphon device, run the plumbing, which is quite simple, and then fill it with gravel. Then all we have to do is hook up the pump, and you'll have the whole thing running in probably an hour and a half at the most. A really easy system to do to get you started in aquaponics. The pump system here, small pump, here it is, small pump, is bringing the water up and just over this, a very simple system over into the grow bed. We've got a tap here to regulate the amount of water that actually comes out of the end. You can see that water flow is quite low really. The auto siphon device will just give you a peek inside so you can see how it works. Here's the bell of the siphon, and we can see that the grow bed is now full of water, and the water is beginning to fall over the top of the upstand. And if we look down below, we will see it start to siphon. We'll just place this back inside and seal it up. Now if we swing down below, we can see the water starting to come out of the outlet back into the fish tank. And in a moment it will get a real go on. It will suck all the water out of the grow bed and return to the fish tank. And here it goes, full speed ahead. That is now rapidly removing all the water from the grow bed and putting it back to the fish tank. At the same time, the pump is still running. It is still running and pumping back into the top of the grow bed. So you've got a constant water flow into the grow bed and an intermittent drain out. So what's happening is we have slow fill and a rapid drain of the grow bed. The other good thing about this is too, it's actually a 1-to-1 ratio. We talked about the ratio of grow bed to fish tank, and both being the same size, obviously we've got the ratio just right for our purposes for a good starter kit at home. These standard bathtubs that I've got here have about a 300 litre capacity. So if we stick to our rule of thumb of 1 fish per 10 litres of water maximum, that means I could put 30 fish in this bathtub. Now initially, for your first system, I wouldn't put that many, I'd halve that, just for safety's sake, until you get used to how it all works. That's the best thing to do when you start. Be on the safe side and only have half the number of fish. I'm often asked questions about solar panels and can I run my system on solar? Right now we're striving to find the best solution for solar, and we're still a long way off actually, because solar panels are so expensive. I believe the technology will get better, but here's an example of a solar panel. It produces 40 watts of power. Now to run this little bathtub system, we would need 80 watts of power 24 hours a day. So if we do the sums, we would find we're going to need about 4 of these panels and a battery pack to run it. Unfortunately, that would cost you a whole lot more than setting up your initial system. Some people are prepared to pay for that, but personally, I think we've still got a long way to go before we can reach a really good solution for solar powering our systems. Some of our bigger systems, we're making them solar ready now because we've found pumps that are getting right down to the wattage that we want to run the systems adequately and well. But I stress again, it is possible, it's very doable, but also unfortunately expensive. We've just shown you this wonderful way to get started in aquaponics with the bathtub system, but we really should point out to you some of the disadvantages of it. And the first one is that it's just really too small to be stable. We have found through hard experience that the bigger the water volume that you employ in your system, the more stability you have overall. And that's stability in temperature, stability in pH, stability in neutral, in nutrient levels in the system. So it's very important to have a volume of water. And we found through hard experience that around about 1,000 litres or 250 gallon systems is about as small as you can go to really have a stable system.